All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Konveyor Community Call for December 12th, 2024. My name is Dylan Murray. I will be hosting the call today. Um, First things, as always, our recurring topic. Just want to welcome anyone that's new. If you're interested in saying hi, introducing yourself, I'll give you a minute to do so if you'd like. I won't wait that long. So fantastic. I think we'll go ahead and move into our demos as always. So first up, we have Hiteshwari, who's going to demonstrate the current state of Kai with our 001 alpha demo. Hiteshwari, do you want me to share my screen or do you want to share yours?
Actually, I'll share so I can pause where I have to talk and highlight.
Yeah, sounds good.
Do you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is the current, good morning, everyone. This is the current state of Kai, and here I'm gonna highlight few things that we have achieved in last few months. So this is the demo of an end-to-end where I'm installing the Kai extension and running the analysis and generating the fixes via LLM. So let's start. So here, as you can see, I am installing this extension with only one file. And if you remember in the past, like Kai backend installation required multiple steps, and that was very exhausting. So this is a great achievement. As you can see, literally in 5 seconds, we have extension installed and ready to use. It comes with the prepackaged binaries that required with the custom rule. So this is a really great thing that we achieved. And here is the setup. So it gives you options to basically update the binaries, override the binaries and custom rules. And here I am adding the generative AI key, and I'm going to set up the targets. Here I'm using the Cool Store app. So we're targeting Java EE to Quarkus. And these are the targets. This is where I'm selecting and hitting enter. It updates the configuration, and I am running the server. And server takes about 2 minutes to start. And you can see the logs in the output channel, Konveyor analyzer. And here we have starting the server. And it will take, as I said, about 2 minutes. So here it's already started running, and I quickly press the run analysis. This is the button comes here. So I already started the run analysis and it started analyzing. So first analysis takes about 1 minute or so, or maybe it's less than that. And this is another great achievement. If you have ran Contra in the past, you know that how difficult it was sometimes to run. It takes about like 4 to 5 minutes and used to get stuck. So we're not facing that issue anymore. And it will take literally first report will take about 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes to generate. So here the analysis is already done. And on the left-hand side, we can see all the issues listed, and it has a drop down. So the issue is the common issues in the files will listed down here. And here we have a panel view where we can see this basically the same issues, and we can see like the similar incidents grouped together. And I am going to fix one of the file here. And this is the light bulb, which will basically help you generate the fix for it. And again, it takes about 1 to 2 minutes to generate the fix. And here we have the fix ready. And on the left-hand side, we have the under the resolution, we have the diff view. And as you can see, the file has changed and remote EJB is not supported in Quarkus, so it has changed to REST API. And once I accepted the changes, it started rerunning the analysis again. And this will only take like less than 20 seconds. And it reran, and we have few more issues. I think this number is not correct because it's basically generating the lot of issues for the imports and dependencies. So, but yeah, that's what we have. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Awesome. Thank you, Teshwari.
Mhm.
Give me one sec.
So yeah, just I wanted to summarize that the cool things is installation, because previously it was taking so long. And second thing is like running this real-time update and running analysis in less than a minute. It's super cool.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And obviously, since the last time we've met, the one of the major changes that she's demonstrating is the progress we've made with the IDE. So what we will intend to have, and I'll talk about this in a minute, that's after I go through my little blurb here. We intend to publish this version of the IDE to GitHub so that everyone can also run this themselves. It will come with the standalone binaries. So it'll be as simple as she just showed off, which is fantastic. So awesome. Well, thank you, Teshwari. Any questions? All right. I am going to try to do something a little stupid here and try to do something semi-live, semi-recorded. What I am hoping to show, as Teshwari just demonstrated, kind of the default configuration that we're working with, that the entire end-to-end demo script, which was demonstrated last month, was built off of. But if you remember, Fabian had demonstrated the last community call a whole presentation about what the reactive code planning approach was. This kind of gave the user 3 knobs to play with Kai. The depth, so basically how deep should the task manager go in resolving issues? What priority should of the task should the agent be focusing on? And then how many issues or I guess iterations or items do you want to exist on the queue? So now that we've got this all plugged in as of this week, I've just been trying to have fun and play with these values a little bit. And I thought it might be kind of interesting to show some stuff that I was playing with and kind of show where we're going next. Because obviously the main thing is we spent all this time plugging everything together. We're kind of finally at a spot where the user experience can start to evolve based on all of the capabilities we've baked into Kai. So I have a recorded demo in case something goes really south here. But I wanted to show you just tweaking with these values a little bit. I'm on the Cool Store application, and you have full control over these values outside of what Hiteshwari showed, which is just the defaults, which really will attempt to solve one instant at a time. What I'm doing is I'm bumping the max priority, the depth, and the iterations. So the number of like items that can actually go on the queue. The demo that I have, I'll show you in a second, I've bumped these values significantly higher to let it run almost unbounded. But just for the sake of trying to show you something quickly live, I want to show you what happens if I run this with 38 max iterations, max priority of 2, which I think the default is 0, and then a depth of 2. So, I guess I killed the server by accident. Okay. Hang on, let me restart my terminal here. It's on me. I knew something had to go south there. All right, so we're going to start the server. Once the server is running, I'll run analysis as normal, although I've already done this once, so I just want to show you that it's actually working on the same thing. Again, going back to settings.json, 2 things I've changed. I've changed these get solution configuration values, and you'll notice I am also using GPT for just to kind of speed things up for the sake of demonstrations here. Okay, analysis has run. I'm going to sort by the incident count, and I'm going to pick one of these things that's got 95 incidents. And the thought here is that even though the UX is still heavily centric on fixing per incident, I've kind of backdoored this slightly so that once it goes and attempts to solve this incident, it's going to rerun analysis and start to stick more items onto the queue to go address. So I think this actually would belong in a separate UX, but at least I think this is kind of cool to show. So we'll let this run. As it runs, I just think it's a little bit interesting to actually watch the logs, and then I will skip over to the recorded demo to speed things up here so you're not watching this the whole time. But you can kind of see which file it's working on. And then as it starts to make changes in that file, you'll start to see it attempt to resolve itself in the POM XML. It'll kind of take the POM XML as like the starting point of addressing more of the changes before it goes back into the file to make additional fixes. And it's really cool because you can kind of run this, go get some coffee, and come back and see what it's done. So if we go here into the source control, as you saw, the first thing it was doing was focusing on order service because that's the one I actually clicked to start it on. It's replaced all of the, there we go, that's a better view. It's went ahead and replaced all the Java X dependencies with Jakarta. It's attempting to compile from the agent approach. It's going to say, hey, actually, you have the wrong dependencies in POM XML. So it's going to start to fix this first. Once it does this, there's going to be an analysis on POM XML. It's going to start addressing those issues to like kind of get it from the root. And then it's just going to start cascading across the whole repository, which again, that's all the work we started to put into Kai from a kind of a repo level awareness concept. Now that everything's plugged together, we can really start to hammer home different UX, different experiences from the user to play with it and get different results as opposed to just a per incident approach. So just in the interest of time, I'm going to stop showing you this, although we'll come back to it in a second to see where it landed up. I'm going to share my recorded video. Hopefully. This recorded video actually had an interesting problem with it, but I'll talk about that in a second. So let me fix my sharing screen. I'm sorry. Should have thought about this. Nope, it's the wrong button. How does this look? You guys can see this okay, I hope. All right, so I just want to show you what I've done differently in this video, and you'll start to see the impact that it has that's different than what I'm going to show you on my current session. This one, I've set the max priority to 5. I've set the max iterations to 1,000, so I'm giving it up to 1,000 queue items, essentially. Man, this is running a lot faster than I remember recording it. Pause it. Holy cow. All right. Right here. So the only thing that's really kind of important to call out, I don't think these values are actually very good, and I'll explain why at a certain point, but it does give it a very unbounded feel, and you're going to see kind of what's cool about that in a second. So I'll let this run. I'm going to click on same approach I just kind of showed you, even though technically this isn't fixing a per incident. It's kind of attacking it more at like a repository level concept. As this runs, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. You'll start to see in the left of the pane, or the left of my IDE. Okay, VLC is not cooperating with me right now. This is fun. Let's see. Can't skip ahead, can I? This is embarrassing. All right, here we go. I think, is it actually playing? Oh boy. Okay, we'll call this good enough. All right, so as I kind of mentioned, it changed order item first, then it's coming to the POM XML, and it's starting to address a bunch of issues that came out of the POM. Again, the agent is running analysis. It's taking incidents that came out of analysis and essentially addressing them in a task manager to go and start to address. So if I can hopefully try to skip forward without this thing breaking, you'll see it found an incident about using the Quarkus bomb artifact. It adds it to the POM, reruns analysis, starts to fix itself, attempts Maven compilation to address compilation errors. It's going to spend a lot of time getting the POM in a happy spot. Once it does that, it then kind of goes back to the underlying file that we were talking about to begin with, and then cascades those changes across multiple files where that incident was impacting other files. So obviously the Java X dependency exists in way more than just order item.java. And you'll see once it's done kind of iterating on the POM, it's just like in a flash, it makes a significant diff across, I think, 21 files to go and swap it out everywhere. I'm sorry, VLC is completely crapping out on me here. This is not very easy to skip ahead where I want to show you. Maybe should open this with something else. Okay, I may have to fix this while we talk about some other stuff and come back to this if that's okay, because this isn't working. I need to maybe open this with something else other than VLC. Let me try that. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. Hopefully. No.
If you keep clicking on the progress bar, it should get unstuck. For whatever reason, VLC gets stuck lately. I don't know why.
You're saying to unclick the progress bar?
No, you click on the progress bar. You keep clicking on the progress bars until the whole thing starts moving. It's ridiculous, but that's how it seems to work lately.
Then I'm gonna try to get somewhere here that's actually somewhere more interesting. I'm sorry, this is not. I recorded this to like make this go smoother, and that made things worse. So I might have to just upload this somewhere, let you guys watch it in your own time. Well, just in the interest of time, I guess I'll show you what came out of this test. So if I actually open different window here. All right, sorry. That sucks. Here is essentially what I did was let this thing run to completion and then tried to run a Quarkus build against it. So some of these files are actually generated from the Quarkus CLI. It did fail. I'm not going to like BS it and pretend that it actually worked. But you can see it's a pretty significant amount of changes, and it took about 28 minutes for this thing to run. So from a perspective of is Kai going to save a migrator a bunch of time? I think the short answer is absolutely, because I basically ran this, stepped away, got some lunch, and I came back. 28 minutes later, it had addressed out of 156 incidents, 132 of them. So it wrote all of this code for me. I kind of came back. It still wasn't compiling. I had to make a couple tweaks to get it at least to build. then yes, the app didn't run, so there's still some work for the agent to do. But just think about that. It took 30 minutes to address almost 82% of the open incidents in the repository. And that's just with the current agent flow. I think there's a lot of work we can do. If my video was working, I wanted to show you that it does actually spin at a certain point in time where it's essentially trying to resolve a symbol that was hallucinated and it never actually found itself. So like there's still a ton of improvements we can continue to make. And I think we've only started to kind of scratch the surface now that it's actually plugged together with the IDE, because it was kind of harder to see this before. Just to kind of show you, so this is about 15 minutes in. It's modified 22 files. And then I kind of have this video watching the individual files as it makes changes and resolves itself. It's pretty cool to watch. So I've taken up enough time, and this isn't this isn't presenting as well as I was hoped. So I'm just going to stop there and ask if there's any questions or anything I can help explain, and then I can upload this stuff separately if you want to take a look. But again, all of this is possible in the version that we're going to publish. So hopefully we get this in other people's hands. They can play with it. We can start to find what are some good settings, what are ways that we can improve the agent to actually get better results. All right, cool. That's it from me. Going to go back to this page. I have a bunch of other topics to discuss, so if there's anything else, please just stop me. But I want to also mention other thing that I've been working on with the test trace help is getting our docs back up to date. I have this as work in progress because the scenario is not totally finished, mainly because it's the results that we're getting and the way that the UX is completely different. I do think I've addressed the getting started guide, so I think it's actually up to date. I started to update the configuration guide. I really just need a lot of extra eyes on this to tell me what I'm missing. Hitesh contributed the installation guide. We've got, again, a CLI demo scenario that I worked on, which is basically just showing off how to use the binaries directly without the IDE. Then we've got the existing scenario demo with CoolStore. I tried to update it with the settings that you would set in the IDE to make it work. And then I started to go through and actually update changing the workflow. I just haven't finished yet. So, but again, there's a bunch of stuff here. If you want to take a look and help provide some feedback and test the instructions, I'm going to try to have this done by the end of the day tomorrow too. Okay, so then again, kind of summing this up, we now have a working version of the binaries published for all platforms. They're completely self-contained. We should be able to publish a VSIX today that actually contains those latest binaries. I think we are going to call it V001 Alpha 1, but someone stop me if that doesn't make any sense. This should contain everything you saw in my demo and Hitesh Roy's demo. Are there any kind of questions on that or concerns? Okay, then moving on, I wanted to switch gears a little bit outside of Kai and talk about V06. So the last update we had last month, we were still moving forward with containerless Contra. We did find some issues this past week actually around running Contra on Windows in a containerless fashion. Additionally, there was something that was impacting Contra and Kai, which is that Python was being used at one point to launch JDTLS. It was just like a launching script around the actual JDTLS jar file. So we went ahead and have a PR that's ripping this out entirely. So for containerless Contra, that means that you don't actually need Python installed on the machine. And for Kai, it actually was addressing some of the build problems we were having with the V002 binaries. So I'm intending to cut one last beta, or maybe, yeah, one last beta before I do a release candidate. I expect we should be able to cut the release candidate of this by the end of next week. I think we just really want to take the current builds and do a little bit more of extensive testing on Windows to make sure we're happy with where it stands. So that'll probably be all of next week for something that I'm helping to focus on. Assuming everything goes good, I'll hope to cut a 0.6.0 release candidate by the 20th. And then with most of the team being out for the holidays, I'll probably actually cut the GA when we get back in January. Questions, comments, concerns on that? Okay. Moving on. I just wanted to highlight, we had an enhancement up that's going to go into, I assume 0.7.0, which is around asset generation and platform awareness. Ramon, do you want to give just a quick 2-minute blurb as to what this is targeting?
Sure. Okay, sure. So with this enhancement, what we're trying to achieve is enable Konveyor to be able to connect to platforms and retrieve deployment and runtime configuration for applications that are deployed on those platforms, then be able to transform that configuration into a canonical model that gets stored in the Konveyor instance. And then with assets generation, what we intend to do is allow Konveyor to leverage that configuration stored in canonical form to generate the assets required to deploy the application in a different platform. And doing so by leveraging templating engines such as Helm. That will be the first implementation that we will be chasing with this, but we might look into other implementations. So to sum things up, enable Konveyor to automate the transformation for all the assets required for a certain application to be able to migrate that application from one platform to the other. I think our top priority right now, based on requests, field requests, would be migrating applications from Cloud Foundry to Kubernetes. So, and just to give you an explanation of what's the difference from what we currently have, we now have an analysis engine that is able to look into the application source code and guide the user through the adjustments required on the application itself for it to run on a different platform. But we also need to get that application deployed on the target platform. We will also need the deployment assets necessary to get that application running on the platform. In our case, for example, if we were talking about Kubernetes, we will be talking about the Docker file or the image file. I think they're called now. We will need the deployment manifests, all that stuff. So have something that is able to understand how the application was deployed in the original platform, and from there be able to derive what would be the right deployment assets for the application to be deployed on a completely different platform, on a completely platform in the end, keeping most of the configuration that the application had originally in the source platform. Any questions about that?
Awesome. Thank you, Ramon. Appreciate it. So please go check that out, add some comments, reviews. This will probably actually pick up active development in January. So now is the time to get your feedback in if you'd like. All right. If you guys aren't going to be too annoyed, we'll switch back over to the thing that did run for 10 minutes so I can show you exactly what it looks like at the end. This will take 2 seconds, and then we'll go back to the rest of the agenda. I just wanted to kind of show you. Again, this ran for about 8 or 9 minutes, I think. It made all of these changes. It didn't fix everything because I kind of scoped the iteration count a lot lower than you saw in the video, or sort of saw in the video. But what I really like to see when I actually go and accept all of these, just kind of see we had 155 incidents. We're down to 31 after a partial analysis. I assume if I run a full analysis, it's going to actually go higher than that because it's going to go and find all the other JavaX things that it missed. But for 8 minutes of work, if it tackled at least 30 incidents, I'd be happy. And then running this in a little more of an unbounded state, it starts to get way more interesting. So yeah, so about 44 incidents in a span of 8 minutes. That's pretty cool. So all right. I'll stop trying to make that demo work. Back here, I wanted to open discussion. I saw some, we've been having some issues with the CI system, and I wanted to talk through it a little bit if people are interested. The main note that I want to take on is that the bundle installation flaking is causing a significant amount of pain. It was one of these things that I feel like we've attempted to fix 5 or 6 times. And it was actually working pretty well once we pinned OLM to version 0.28. Now it seems like we're kind of back into the spot where it's continuously timing out before the operator has a chance to actually finish the install. I'm going to try to spend some time looking at this probably tomorrow if I have more free time. Sean had pointed a couple things out to me that I thought were interesting. So I will do my best to help fix this if there's someone else that also wants to take a look at this. You probably noticed that a lot of the times it fails on the install conveyor task. You have to kick it off again. We're going to try to fix that. Sean, do you have any note to add to that?
That was me raising my hand to help.
Oh, thanks, Sean. Thank you. And then I wanted to just really, again, highlight this. I mean, I feel like this comes up every 2 months. We need to continue to take shared ownership over the CI system. I'm seeing actually the tier 0 tests starting to slightly degrade. For example, we saw an API test yesterday that was failing on like 409 conflicts, which should never really happen. So like the fact that I'm seeing that at least once out of 10 runs and it's not reproducible, that's something we need to invest time in and fix it. Aside from that, we also need to revamp a little bit of the process. We had a really good conversation yesterday about this. We have 2 different kind of processes for the code development and the test development, which I think needs to change itself, which we'll talk about in January probably. But I want to really highlight something that if you break CI, you're really on the hook to fix it. The impact that this has across the ecosystem is pretty vast. And for external community or contributors coming in and seeing their PRs go red, and then which ends up delaying the things that get reviewed. For example, we had an external contribution to the Analyzer LSP repository. It's been failing CI for like a month because of flakes. And then when the flake was actually working, the UI test had failed. There's another time where it ended up getting the conflict error in the API test. It's just this massive pain. So we all need to be on the hook for it. I don't think we need to be living with flakes, and we shouldn't be living with anyone merging stuff red. So if anyone is merging stuff in a red state, get with me. Let's figure out why you're doing that. There's probably a good reason for it. And we need to fix the process. Everything should be green all the time. If it stops being green and you're somehow associated with that, I want you to take a little bit of ownership in fixing it. Shouldn't ever be in a red state. So I know we're living with some red. Let's try to fix that and get it over with and have 2025 a year of green entirely, because it's getting painful. That it circles like every 2 months we have to come back and do stuff around this. Questions, comments? All right. Anyone else have topics they want to bring up other than me talking this whole time? All right. Well, I'll give a big thank you shout out. The work to get into Kai V001, even though I'm showing a lot of this stuff off, man, I didn't do anything. You guys did everything. I think this is incredible. I'm really impressed with where we stand right now. I can only imagine how much better this is going to get now that we actually have an IDE that we can publish and share with folks and get a lot of more hands-on feedback from people that have different applications to test and different targets to test against. I'm just super excited. So thank you very much. All right. With that, any last topics for discussion before we end the call? All right. Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.